Hello and welcome to the Gird and Crew, an American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. Week 7 is just around the corner, so it's time for your preview crew. Make sure you're following the Gird and Crew on all your social media accounts to follow what's happening next with the crew. We've got a lot coming up over the next couple of weeks and months, so make sure you don't miss out on that. On the 27th of October, we've got our first ever watch along at the Committee Rooms 9 in Glasgow. It's a free ticketed event. Come along and join the crew as we watch the games, have a pint, have some chat, get your mates along as well. Our event kicks off at 4 p.m. Red Zone will start at 5 that night because the clocks have went back. So we get an extra hour of NFL, or we get an earlier hour of NFL, so we don't have to stay up as late to watch the games. All the ticket information is available on our social media accounts. If you don't have access to those social media accounts, make sure you drop us a comment on YouTube and we'll get those details across to you. All right. Before that, this weekend we are dropping the third episode of our special crew interviews. Myself and Gav, the reveal has just dropped just before this podcast came live. We interviewed Phoebe Schechter on Monday, and that interview will be dropping on Saturday morning. So catch up with what Phoebe's got to say about the current NFL season, learn a bit about her history and what she thinks has happened in the future in terms of the domestic game in the UK and also flag at the Olympics. So make sure you keep up with that. Right, let's get back to tonight. Tonight I've got a special guest joining me. We have the driver of the Scotland Kirk Cousins supporters bus joining me. It's Falcons fan Des. How are you, Des?
Good, Dan. Great to be on. I feel privileged. Phoebe Schechter and then me. You know what I mean?
So only high caliber guests we have on this show.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's great to be on.
Des, as we know, there has been two big trades in the week. This week in the league, but we'll come back to that as we go through the games. But it's quite an interesting week in terms of a trade. So if you've not seen what's happened, make sure you stay tuned because we'll take you through what happened during the week. Des, between the two of us, we've got 15 games to cover tonight. You up for it?
Yes, go for it. I need to going forward. I need to stop closeting myself as just watching the Falcons and start to watch other games. But I do watch. But for me, I live in the Atlanta Falcons world, so we'll see how I go on.
I'm sure you'll be fine. All right, starting with tonight then. So we have the 3-3 Broncos at the 2-4 Saints. So Bo Nix has led the Broncos to some good wins this season. So far, the Saints were pummeled by the Bucks last week, though. 51-27. How do you see this one going, Des?
This is quite. The probably the story behind this is the coaches. I think from my point of view, you've got Sean Payton coming back to his old team. You've got Dennis Allen, obviously, who's going against his old head coach. From my point of view, the Saints are sitting at 2-4. They've lost the last four games. They've got Spencer Strider, who actually played really well last week, considering the result. But with this one, I think it's going to be, Denver Broncos, and I think Sean Payton, although I'm not the biggest fan of Sean Payton historically, I think this is going to be a Denver Broncos win. I think the other storyline behind it as well is, I know speaking to quite a few of the Saints fans coming into the season, I don't think they had much of an affinity for their head coach coming into the season. And if he goes 2-5 and he's lost the last 5 games, is this a case that that Allen is gone from the NFL? So when you look at the storyline, Sean Payton comes in, beats his old defensive coordinator, and possibly puts him out of a job.
Yeah, we had a couple of Saints fans on halfway through last season with Dan and Procrastinators on, and he was they wanted rid of Dennis Allen middle of last season. Never mind now. I think Dennis Allen has really got to be in the hot seat at the moment. Like we said, the Broncos are looking off for 3 big wins. They beat the Bucks, the Jets, and the Raiders. The Raiders, we know what's happening with them at the moment, but the Jets aren't an easy team to beat this season. They also beat the Bucks, who are doing well. So Bo Nix, he's doing all right, man. I think a lot of people were a bit unsure of how he'd get on in Denver, but the chat was that Sean Payton would get the best out of when it started to look like that, winning 3 in a row after. The 2 games they lost to Seattle and Pittsburgh in the first 2 games, which for the first game of the season against Seattle as a rookie quarterback, you're maybe going to struggle. But Pittsburgh, it was 13-6 they lost. It was a tight game, but so the 2 games that Bo Nix has probably lost, probably wasn't expected to win anyway. Yeah. So to go and then 3 wins after that, and then they lost to the Chargers last week, which the Chargers, as we'll come on to chat about, the Chargers are kind of just floating under the radar at the moment. So it was a division game though, so wee bit of pressure to win that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to.
Dan, when you look at the storyline that came into the start of the season with Denver, it was all about Bo Nix was effectively what was left. that was the storyline. He's what's left. Sean Payton came out and said no, that was the quarterback they wanted, and as you say, he's done really, really well for it in his rookie season. Sean Payton tends to be quite a hard taskmaster when it comes to the players. Yep. But again, Bo Nix has come out with the funny Instagram posts and all that, and it seems to be that Sean Payton is really, really taking a liking to Bo Nix. He likes what he sees on the park. Yep. And obviously, the guy's got that kind of humour that anything that's happening, if he's getting criticised or anything, I think it just goes over his head. And that's what you need to be when it comes to a quarterback. Effectively, it's the next play. So, yeah, although it pains me to say, Sean Payton is actually picked a great quarterback in Bo Nix.
Yeah, he's got a good future ahead of him. I mean, the thing is, at Denver, he's not had a lot of weapons. I mean, Cortland Sutton's his WR1, which isn't exactly in no disrespect. He's not an elite wide receiver, and he's not. Yeah. Adam Troutman at tight end. He's got Javonte Williams at running back season, but coming into a season as a rookie quarterback, you really need to have an experienced wide receiver, an experienced tight end, but he's doing without that, which was great to see. In terms of the Saints, like you said, Spencer Rattler comes in this week again after last week. We don't know how long Derek Carr's going to be out, but it's going to be a while anyway. I mean, they done okay last week. They beat 51-27, but that's not really on him. He put up 27 points on his offense and his first start in the NFL, which you can't really grumble against. But it's on the other side of the ball where maybe not so hot. They don't have Chris Olave this week, I believe. With his concussion. Raheed Shaheed's out as well. He's really going to struggle this week without the weapon. So he basically got, who has he got? Bob Means, Cedric Wilson Jr. and Mason Tipton as his three wide receivers this week. Taysom Hill's doubtful, so he's not even got the experience of him there.
Yeah,
it's going to be a real struggle for Spencer Rattler this week, and of no fault of his own. But we can all see how it's on. But I'm going to agree with yourself, Des. I'm going to go with the Broncos to win this one. Probably slightly comfortable, I would say. I don't say it's going to be an easy win for them, but I think it will be quite comfortable for them.
Yeah. And again, going on, but when you're talking about Spencer Rattler, I mean, he was a 5th round pick. You know what I mean? Again, I think what he's done, and again, it pains me to say, at the start of the season, I says that he was probably he was going to be one of the steals of the draft. And to be fair, I mean, I think it done really well last week. And again, I think when you look at Carr, injury, his contracts, everything, I think at the end of this year they can walk away from him. I think if Spencer Rattler shows that he can actually have a decent passing play, then it might be a case that if they lose this, Dennis Allen goes. It's effectively what we've always been expecting for the last few years: burn it down and start again.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Rattler last week, he was 22 of 40 for 243 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times, but that's at Bucks D rather than anything against probably in the Saints O-line not protecting him either, to be fair. But yeah, I'm going Denver. You're going Denver, so that one's an easy one. Right, next, the final London game of the season. The fact that the NFL have sent the 1-5 Pats and the 1-5 Jags to London, surely that's a declaration of war by the Americans against us. I mean, Drake May, we said on this show last week that putting him in against the Texans was unfathomable decision. Why are you putting him in for his first game against the Texans when you've got the Jags up next week? Who knows? But this is a much better game for Drake May to settle into, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, declaration of war, I think we should all get our Budweisers. Instead of the Tea Party in Boston, I think we should all get our Budweisers and throw it into the River Thames. It seems to be that the UK fans tend to be getting the absolutely cream of the crop. I mean, again, Jacksonville Jaguars looked decent last year and they look anemic this year. Yeah. And again, you have to wonder whether Doug Peterson's again going to make it to. I mean, again, they're 1-5, so they're completely anemic. Again, looking at Drake May, and again, last week was his debut. and he looked quite comfortable.
Yeah.
And I
there you go. Sorry, I was
sorry,
going to say stats. It was 24 of 41, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So considering he was up against that Texans defense, he done all right for himself. I mean, I was expecting him to be absolutely smashed, but to be fair, it wasn't too bad. But again, I still don't think it was the right game to put him in. Obviously, it finished 41-21 to the Texans last week, but this should be a much easier game for Drake to make. Kind of settle, get his feet on, kind of under that centre, and kind of probably see what Drake May really is made of against a team that are on the same level as the Pats. Like you said, Doug Peterson's got to be in the hot seat. He really has. I mean, this is a team that have paid a fortune to their quarterback, and they're getting no return on it at all. I mean, there's something about quarterbacks that get paid this year not doing anything. Looking at my own team as well, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, what do you make of him?
I mean, the full, but just looking at it, I mean, the full offense just looks anemic. I mean, it really is. I mean, you look at the Carolina Panthers, who are effectively classed as the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
and they put up a good game against us last week. I mean, obviously they're having to travel to London. I don't know if that's an issue. I remember seeing a stat last week that when they came out of their London games, they're like 27-12 winning. But again, I don't see that this season. The other thing you look at as well is if they lose, and I believe that New England's going to win this game. And if you look at it, that's then going to put them 1-6. They've then got the Packers, the Eagles, and then the Vikings. So then you look at that and you think, is there any games that they can actually win? There's a possibility that this team effectively goes 1-9.
Yeah, I'm going to raise you on that. There's after that, they'll then get the Lions and the Texans after that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, if they lose that, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll go 1-11.
And again, the head coach isn't going to survive that. The owner doesn't show much patience. But again, from my point of view, when you come from a decent couple of seasons, and then you come into this season and you just fall flat on your face, again, that comes down to coaching. That comes down to the head coach has to fall on his sword. When you look at that,
we had Sarah the Jags fan on last week, and she's blaming Press Taylor for it all. So we'll see what happens there. Right, so you're going Pats with this one then?
Yeah, absolutely. New England Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that one. I think the Jags are just a dumpster fire at the moment. Who knows what is going on with them? All right, Des, it's your team next. So considering your 2 losses so far this season, but probably I'm not going to say we're expected losses, but they weren't bad losses for you. Apart from that, could you have asked for a better start to the season?
Yeah, I mean, we're 4-2, and I think probably the best thing about it is we go from the Bucks game where Kirk Cousins throws for 509 passing yards, 509 passing yards, and we then go to last week against the Carolina Panthers. And to be fair, the Panthers put up a good fight. They hung in there. And me as a fan, and I could see on X, a lot of the Atlanta Falcons fans were getting nervous. We're still used to the old Atlanta Falcons teams that win the games they're not supposed to win, and then effectively lose the games that they should win.
Yeah.
And we were getting really, really nervous. Again, the Seattle Seahawks, when you look at that, again, they're 3-3. If you look at the game, this is going to be a tough game for us, Dan, because you look at Geno Smith. I think he's got the most passing yards in the NFL at the moment, which I was shocked about. And we've got a passing rush that, if you look at it, so Derek Hall of Seattle Seahawks has had the same amount of sacks as the Atlanta Falcons defense.
Wow.
So we've had 5 sacks in 6 games. So our pass rush pressure our quarterback pressure is null and void. It's not there. We've obviously brought in Matthew Judon, and again, he probably tends to be the one that's getting there closer. But it's going to be a tough game. If you leave Geno Smith sitting in the pocket and he can get his passing and he shows off, he's got good weapons to throw to. You've got DK Metcalf, you've got Njigba, you've got Tyler Lockett. So again, there's a lot of weapons there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go. I would say if this was in Washington, I would say it's probably me favouring the Seahawks. It's in Atlanta. Again, we've got Kyle Pitts that's starting to roll. We've got Drake London. So again, he's had the last 3 games, he's had over 70 yards.
Yeah.
You've got Darnell Mooney, who's putting up passes. You've got Ray McLeod. There's a host of weapons, and then you go to the running game. And again, what I love about this team is if it's a great passing defense, we just run the ball. If it's a great Russian defense, we pass the ball. And I think probably the best thing, not only beating the Buccaneers, the best thing about the 509 passing yards was a lot of the teams before that, Pittsburgh Steelers was perfect. They were effectively jamming the box. So Tyler Algier and God, I forgot. Robinson, I've got his bloody top on. Again, they were literally getting 1 or 2 yards.
Yeah.
Now that opened up, and obviously the defense has to work on the possibility they're going to have Kirk Cousins passing the ball. They've had to open up a wee bit, and that's how last week against the Panthers, we had probably 200, two players with between them 200 rushing yards. So yeah. I'm going for a Atlanta Falcons win. I think it's going to be tight. The Panthers game is the only game where it wasn't a single score game. And again, I could see this being a field goal at the end to win the game, and it could still go anyway, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see Bijan being allowed at the cupboard now that Arthur Smith's away. It's good to see that.
Yes. Yes.
In terms of the Seahawks started off the season quite well. They went 3-0 against the Broncos, the Patriots, and then the Dolphins. And then they've lost to the Lions, the Giants, and the Lions and the Giants. It sounds like a story. The Lions and the Giants and the 49ers. So they're kind of on a slide at the moment, and their games don't get any easier for them. So they've got this week, and then they've got the Bills next week. I mean, the word I used to describe the Seahawks last week was inconsistent. They just... And what I say is, when the Seahawks are good, they're good. But when they're bad, they're bad. There's no middle ground with the Seahawks. That's what's kind of happened. Start off the season well, 3 wins. Then they started not playing very well, 3 losses. But they're still putting up. So they put up over 20 points in every game this season. So they're, like you said, their offense is moving the ball. There's just no seeing out the last 3 games. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. Where am I going with this one? I'm going to go Falcons as well. I like what I'm seeing for your team this season. I think I might have picked the Falcons to win your division in the previous show. Somebody might correct me on that one, but I think I did. Let's go Falcons on that one. I think, like you said, the weapons you've got, the options you've got, as long as you don't let Geno Smith have the freedom of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, then you should win this game, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Right. Next, we have the 4-1 Titans at the 1-4 Titans at the 4-2 Bills. So there was a lot of hope for the Titans fans this season, coming out of the season. I'm thinking maybe what can we do? So I'm not expecting anything to be big, but I think I'm expecting an okay season. But that's kind of disappeared very fast. This week doesn't get any easier for them. The Titans are number 31 in the league for yards per game. They just aren't moving the ball. They're the worst in the league for interception percentage as well. So Will Levis has thrown far too many interceptions.
Yeah.
You can include one where he just throws the ball randomly. And another thing is, Will Levis is getting sacked on 10% of the snaps that their offense is playing. That's a ridiculous thing. You're not going to do anything if in every 10 snaps, your offensive snaps on the ball, your quarterback is getting sacked. On the other side of the ball, they are showing up a lot better. They are number 1 in restricting their oppositions to yards per game and per play. So their defense is doing well. They've just released Jamal Adams today. Those are obviously happy with the depth they've got at safety because they've let Jamal Adams go. They're number 4 at keeping the ball at the red zone, out of the end zone from the red zone, and they've got the number 1 pass D in the league. So their defense is doing the job it needs to do. It's just on the other side of the ball, they just aren't moving the ball at all, and that's not going to win you games this season. On both sides of the ball, they are in the bottom, the bottom of the 32. Sorry, within the bottom group of the 32 teams for turnovers allowed and forced. So they're giving up too many turnovers, but they're also not creating turnovers for themselves either. So that's terrible. If you're bottom for both of them, something seriously wrong on that. In terms of the Bills, this should be an easy chance for them to move to 5-2. They could be without James Cook this week. We still don't know what's happened with his foot injury. They've kind of said he's still questionable. Not seen injury reports for today, so that may have changed. But Ray Davis stepped up last week. So if James Cook is out, they seem to have an enable number 2 now. And they've actually kind of said now that Ray Davis showed up last week. They're thinking, well, when James Cook does come back, they're thinking, well, actually, we can maybe release the workload a bit on James Cook. We maybe don't have to show him and give as much of the ball as we were, because we now know what we've got there. And as we know, Josh Allen can run the ball as well. We know he can just run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
So one thing that I felt, and a lot of people probably felt, was that the Bills' offense were missing a key piece, something that would take them to the next level, and that was an elite wide receiver.
Yes.
They now have that in Amari Cooper. They've given up a 3rd and a 7th for him, with Amari Cooper and a 6th coming to them. That seems like a bit of a steal. What's your thoughts on that deal?
I think it's probably a win-win from all sides. I mean, again, Amari Cooper's gone from Deshaun Watson. Again, we'll get into that when we talk about the other games. And he's now going to Allen. You know what I mean? And again, from my point of view, the QB is going to play with his new toy. He's got a new toy, and as you say, getting into the season, you were always saying that they were missing that. Josh Allen was missing that wide receiver 1. Yeah. Amari Cooper can step in that. And I think this offense, from again looking at the Titans, Will Levis, I know a few Titan fans. Will Levis just isn't. I don't think it's helping the fact, as you say, he's getting so much pressure. So the O-line isn't helping him out. But you can see when you're watching the games, you can see he's just expecting that pressure. He's prepared for the sacks to happen. And when you're a young quarterback and you're effectively looking over your shoulder all the time waiting for that hit, then the nerves kick in, and you can't play. You can't be a good quarterback when you're dealing with that. Yeah. The other thing as well is when you're looking at the Bills, if you get into effectively a shootout with the Bills, there's only going to be one winner when it comes to that. Josh Allen is up there, top 3 quarterbacks in the league. As you say, he can pass, he can run. I mean, he's a fantastic QB. And again, if you look at this, even if you just put it down to the QBs, it's night and day when it comes to Will Levis and Josh Allen.
Yeah. So I'm saying you're going with the Bills in?
Absolutely, yeah. My friend David wouldn't let me leave the office if I said anything other than the Bills. But I mean, who's going to take the Titans?
You know what's going to happen. It's going to be one of those games.
Absolutely. But that's what I love about the NFL. You just never know. You just never know.
We on the crew have a revolving opinion on the Bills Super Bowl window. So let's say the Bills go 5-2 this week. They've just picked up Amari Cooper. Is the Bills Super Bowl window wide open, or is it just slightly ajar? What do you think?
I would say that they're playoff. They can get to the playoffs. I think in the draft they just need to give Josh Allen more weapons. If they give him more weapons, I think I would give another 2 or 3 years. That the Super Bowl window's opened. I know, speaking to my friend David, who's a Bills fan. I mean, he talks about some of the fans are talking about how, like, when they'd lost a few games, how this was the end for them. If you've got Josh Allen, you've got the possibility of anything happening. That's the main thing about the Bills. But going forward, they've obviously brought in Amari Cooper. Going forward, they need to be giving them more weapons. You don't want to go back to being a Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers scenario where they effectively were never ever drafting any wide receivers in the first round, and effectively you know how that ended. So again, you don't want to be in that position where they're not giving them weapons. But when it comes to the Bills, yeah, could they win the Super Bowl this year? Absolutely. Will they? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, I did pick Josh Allen for MVP at the start of the season. I'm starting to feel a wee bit smug at the moment. But like you say, they picked up Amari Cooper. They've got Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman's done okay. He's not broke out yet, but as first year wide receiver, he's got plenty of time to do that. Dalton Kincaid, a big thing we expected of him last season, didn't really kind of work. Brian's on the cruise 3 years at tight ends. You need to give him till the third season, so maybe he'll come good next season. But I think they've got an offense that's it's good enough to win it. Will they win it, like you said? We just have to wait and see. All right.
But again, when you look at the Jets game, I mean, again, you're talking about how good Josh Allen could be and how good the Bills could be. I mean, again, it was they just got over the line when it came to the Jets, and I don't think the Jets played particularly well in the game. So again, you tend to find that way with the Bills, the Chiefs as well. There's always going to be one or two games in the season where they lay an egg. And again, would I be surprised if the Titans beat them? No, because at some point they're going to lay an egg. It's the same way any of the big teams. They're always going to have a bad game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I do not think it'll be this week. I think the Bills will win this more than comfortably. I think the Bills
absolutely.
I mean, they've put up 47 points on Jacksonville this season. 30 points twice. I could see them somewhere in that kind of range in this game, unfortunately, for the Titans. All right. That leads us nicely into the next game. We've got a crew head-to-head this week. We've got Stu against Brian. We've got the 2-4 Bengals at the 1-5 Browns. So the Browns, their tight end is now their WR1.
Yes.
The QB seems to be unbenchable. And their top touchdown scorer now, Rodney McLeod, who is a safety. He has 2 touchdowns this season. He is their touchdown leader. For the Bengals, it was an unconvincing win against the Giants last week, but a win-style win, which is the Bengals need to get under their belt. Joe Burrow is 1-5 against the Browns in his career, which surprised me when I looked that one up today. But where's this one going, Des?
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about the Cleveland Browns? I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I mean, he's literally putting his job on the line. How you can watch, I mean, you're at the point where you're looking at these games and you're wondering, is it time for Jameis Winston to come in? Because and you've got in the back of your head, are they just putting up with this kind of quarterback play because of the contract? I mean, from my point of view, any Cleveland Brown fans that are watching, I just want to, or if anybody from the Cleveland Browns are watching, I just want to thank them. Because we were literally a snippet away from getting Deshaun Watson a couple of years ago when Matt Ryan decided that when he heard about it, he was going to walk away. I mean, it's well known that Deshaun Watson was a Atlanta Falcons ball boy and he was a fan. So, but when you look at the play, I mean, he's a shadow of his self. And again, from my point of view, anybody watching that game, the only way that you're keeping and sticking with Deshaun Watson is the fact that they've got a massive contract that they can't get out of. I think it was like $230 million guaranteed.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? You've got Jameis Winston who could come in and probably do a good job. But again, with this, when you've got Joe Burrow on the other side. And again, when you look at some of the weapons he's got. Again, you're looking at the 2 quarterbacks and you're putting Deshaun Watson up against Joe Burrow. And again, on this game, I'm going for a Bengals win.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, I agree with you. And we mentioned this in the show last week that Deshaun Watson is going to cost Kevin Stefanski his job, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I said last week that Kevin Stefanski needs to put his big boy pants on and go to the owners and say I'm benching him. And he's come out this week and he's doubled down on it. He's not benching him. The problem I've got is if Jameis Winston does come in, let's just hypothetically say after this week Jameis Winston comes in, He's now lost his WR1. His WR1 now is Jerry Judy, which I'm not. He's decent enough, but he's not a WR1. The WR2 is Elijah Moore, and you've got Cedric Tillman. David Njoku is now your best threat in that offence, which I know some teams that is the case in terms of in the past, Kelsey, Kittle, stuff like that. That's Njoku's not at that level where he can play as effectively your number one receiver. So even if Jameis Winston comes in, he's not really got a lot to work with. Obviously, Nick Chubb is in his 4-week window to return, and he does seem to be on track to come back, but you can't bring him back and run him into the ground either. So the Browns, are they blowing it up and starting again is a question. I think Cooper's went. Obviously, they're never going to get rid of Watson's not going to go anywhere. The only other way they could blow it up and start again is if they decided to cash in on Myles Garrett. There has been a few rumblings this week. One of the Bears fans that we know has mentioned that the Bears have been linked with making a move for him. Whether that was just internet rumours or whether there's anything in it, it's interesting to see. But if the Browns need to blow it up and start again, they're going to have to find themselves some first-round draft picks. And the only way they're going to get that is by dealing out Myles Garrett, because they're not going to get them from anybody else. You're getting a third for Amari Cooper was probably be good going. Do you know what I mean? But the Browns are on a very slippery slope, and the Bengals. I mean, I don't know what's going on. We could have guys won it last week. What's going on with the Bengals? I mean, they're probably the best 2-5 team there is.
I mean, from my point of view, when you look at the Bengals, probably the Bengals are one of the only teams that you think that they can turn that around. You know what I mean? The weapons they've got, you know what I mean? You've got Jamar Chase there. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and to be honest, when you watch the games, Jamar Chase is still lethal. You know what I mean? So when you look at 2 and 4 and you actually watch the play, the Bengals can turn that around. Absolutely. When again going back to the Browns, I mean, from my point of view, again, it's as you say. I mean, maybe Kevin Stefanski's looking at the fact that the team is that bad. That whoever they bring in at quarterback is just not going to make a difference.
Yeah. In terms of the Bengals, looking at the fixtures for the rest of the season, they've easily 8 games that are more than winnable for an all-firing Bengals team. So suddenly you're 10-4 already the hypothetical if you win that. And that division should be enough to get them into the playoffs. Yeah. What happens beyond that is another question. But yeah, I'm going with the Bengals this week as well. This is an easy one. All right. Next, we have the 5-1 Texans at the 4-2 Packers. So both teams coming off good wins last week, very convincing wins last week. What have you made of the Texans this season? There was also a bit of chat about like there's more game tape on CJ Stroud. Teams are going to figure out how to deal with them. Brought in Stephon Diggs this season to add to that wide receiver room. Obviously, they know they've lost Nico Collins to IR for the rest of the year. Sorry, not for the rest of the year, for at least the next few weeks. Been impressed with the Titans this year?
Texans. Absolutely. Again, see what you tend to worry about, and again, I know a few Texans fans who worried about the sophomore slump. That effectively he's the great CJ Stroud's the great debut season, a rookie season, and you just think that, as you say, that a lot of the teams are going to start figuring that out. But again, I mean, as you say, they're 5-1. The DeMarco Ryans has got them playing phenomenal. A fantastic coach, and again, they've been impressive. They've got, as you say, they've got Stephon Diggs, so they've got weapons there. But again, it all comes for the QB, and CJ Stroud is. I mean, you look at. I think some of the statistics are coming out where he's close to hitting Patrick Mahomes. Passing yards and all that kind of stuff in the games that he's played. So he's fantastic as a QB. On the other side, you've got Jordan Love, which again it's a Marmite. You either love him or hate him. Some games he looks some games he looks fantastic. Some games he just looks like an average quarterback. And again, as you say, they've just come off the 34-13 wins to win to the Cardinals. But again, the Cardinals aren't playing really well. the 41-21 win against the Patriots, again, you can't really gauge on the two teams that they've just beat. But for me, I would say this is probably the toughest one to call.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would say this is, and again, it comes down to, you look at that and you think it comes down to how well Jordan Love's going to play.
Yeah,
but again, for me, I think looking at the two of them, I think the Houston Texans are just a wee bit more clued in and ready to go. So I'm going for the Texans in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing is, whether it's a level or not, it is in Green Bay. Texans this season, like I say, they're 5-1. The only loss the Texans have got is to the Vikings, who will come to later. So they've beat the Colts, they've beat the Bears, the Jags, the Bills, and the Patriots. So some good wins there against some decent teams. I mean, so Texans are looking pretty impressive this season. Like you said, they've got plenty of weapons there. Pretty sure we get Joe Mixon back getting a bit fitter as well. Packers with their young core of wide receivers there are doing well. Christian Watson seems to be keeping fit at the moment. Let's see how that one plays out, because if he can keep fit, then he's a good weapon for them. I'm not going to quite agree with you with the tightest one to call this, because there's one coming later on I can't pick between.
All right, okay.
It's hard. I'm going to go Texans. I think they'll just have too much. If it gets into a bit of a shootout, the Texans have got the weapons to win it. I think that's potentially what is going to happen. Right, so that was where I agreed again. Right, next we have the 2-3 Dolphins at the 3-3 Colts. I can't remember who said this, but I read a quote during the week from it. It was someone in the US media that says that the issues the Dolphins are having with Snoop Huntley is that they're trying to play at the same speed on offense as they were with Tua.
Yeah.
So the passes, the wide receivers are expecting the passes to get to a certain point at the normal. That's not going to happen, because different cadences, different speed of throw, and everything. They've just not adjusted to that. So that's why the balls are not getting to targets where they should be, because the wide receivers are still, and it sounds really daft, the wide receivers are still running at the same speed they're used to run at. They've not adapted to a different quarterback, which is causing issues with them. Looks like Anthony Richardson's back this week for the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Probably with Jonathan Taylor as well. How do you see this one going?
Again, for this one, I'm going for the Colts on this one. I think from my point, again, is it Tyler Huntley that's going to be playing quarterback for the Dolphins?
Dolphins, yeah.
I mean, again, the way I look at it is, if you look at Aaron Rodgers, the issues he's having with some wide receivers and with the Jets, you see the way Kirk Cousins has come out and said that how after the fifth game that he was only starting to know what the wide receivers and what routes the wide receivers were going to do. And then you look at Tyler Huntley, who's not got any experience anywhere close to that. And as you say, Mike McDaniels is trying to play the same offense he had with Tua's, and it's just not going to work. You've got Jonathan Taylor. They come off quite a poor win against, was it the Titans 2017? Last time, the Colts. But again, I just think, although they've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Miami, I just think it's going to be a Colts win for this one.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's all right having those weapons, Hill, Waddle, but if your quarterback can't get the ball to them, then
absolutely.
Then they can't be effective. I mean, so when they have got the running game at Miami is good, and get Etienne and Mostert, but you can't, like I said earlier, I spoke to you off camera about Dak Prescott. You can't win a game by running all the time. You're not going to get that. So yeah, something needs to change in Miami in terms of that offense and kind of adjusting towards Huntley's quarterback style. Whether they've done it this week in training, we'll have to wait and see. The Colts sound really daft, but they haven't missed Anthony Richardson as much as I was expecting them to. Joe Flacco has come in. We've also seen him doing it last year for the Browns, where Joe Flacco came in, and he is a very serviceable quarterback. In terms of the games that they've won, they beat the Bears and they beat the Steelers. I mean, so it's not as if they're. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to count the Tennessee. They were a tight win against Tennessee last week, but as we mentioned against Tennessee in the last couple of games, that they're not doing very well. But they were tight against the Jags. They lost by 3 points to the Jags. So the Colts are staying in games and winning them some of the games that they maybe wouldn't have normally won. So Anthony Richards coming back into probably a better situation than he was expecting. When he went out, Colts fans were probably thinking, we're going to go downhill until he comes back. But he's actually come into a very favourable situation. After this game, though, they have a horrendous run of games. They've got the Texans, the Vikings, and the Bills are the next 3 games after this. So the Colts really need to win this week to get to 4-3 with those 3 big games coming up, because after that, there's winnable games coming here. Their finish to the season looks very favourable. So if they've got Anthony Richardson back fully fit for that run, and then they could make a run at winning the division and potentially, well, the division, I think Texans have got that, but in terms of winning the getting into the playoffs, wild card, potentially a chance there. I'm going to go with the Colts as well. I just think the Dolphins are struggling big time at the moment. Don't see anything changing anytime soon. And who knows when and if Tour will be back. It might save their season, but there's no kind of saying on what's happening there. All right, so the next one, Des, is the one that I can't pick a winner. It's the 4-1 Lions at the 5-0 Vikings. So I don't care what games I'm about to talk about later on. For me, this is by far game of the week. This is the game that I want to see this week. Vikings obviously fresh off the win in London last week. The Lions got their revenge for the playoff win that we put over them last year by absolutely pulling our pants down and spanking us last week. I'm not even going to hide from it. It was an absolute doing. In terms of stats, I was doing a wee bit of research on this. The Lions are absolutely flying on offense. I didn't realise how well, obviously last week they put up against us, but I'm not judging anybody against our defence this season because we're terrible. But they're number 1 in the league for points scored, they're number 1 for TDs and games, and they're number 3 in the league for yards per game. It is flying. They have a legitimate deep ball threat now in Jameson Williams. He's shot massively this season. He's averaging 23 yards a catch, which you think that would be all right for making 1 or 2 catches. He's made 16 catches this season and he's averaging 23 yards. He's hit 365 yards and 3 touchdowns in his game so far. It's half the amount of catches that Amon-Ra has got, but he's got 80 yards more receiving than him, which is just a crazy stat. I mean, the Lions needed a deep ball threat. I mean, Amon-Ra is an elite wide receiver, but he does get tangled up with DBs because they're obviously going to double him and put the best DBs on him. Jameson Williams just gave them a complete outball this season. I don't think the Lions could get any more dangerous coming into this season, but Williams has made them move up to another level. What's your thoughts on the Lions this season, Des?
I'm going to shock you. Well, yeah, I think the Lions, again, I remember when Dan Campbell came into the league and he was talking about eating people's knees and everything. And it became a bit of a joke amongst some of the other teams. But again, the one thing about the Lions is if it's a close game, they're going to win it. I'm actually going to shock you and tell you that I think this is going to be a big win for the Lions.
Think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's played really well, but watching the Vikings, you can see weaknesses, and I honestly think that a team like the Detroit Lions is going to hit that weakness. I always look to the Vikings a couple of years ago when they went 13-1 and then effectively got into the playoffs and lost. I think if you look at the record, the record looks great for the Vikings, but I look at this. I mean, I honestly believe that the Detroit Lions are the best NFC team at the moment, and that's saying something. And I think they're going to go in, and I think it's going to be a serious win for the Lions.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you on the Lions being the best team in the NFC because I'm pretty sure I picked them to win the NFC this season. So that doesn't surprise me. They have put up over 40 points in the last 2 games. And as much as I joke about our defence not being great this season, they have put 42 points up on us and Seattle. So it's not as if it is teams like the Panthers that they're putting up these, but they're putting them on teams that are contenders to be into the playoffs with the NFC. Just on the Vikings to their defence, they are top 3 for the rushing D. So they are able to smother potentially Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, which is going to be key for them this year. If they want to do anything this week, they're going to have to stop that Lions run. Because as much as we talked about the receivers they've got, they have got 2 very good running backs that complement that passing game very well. But they've allowed the 3rd fewest points in the league this season, the Vikings. So as much as the Lions are free scoring, the Vikings D has been firm this season. So we'll see how this one goes. You don't think that Sam Darnold's going to Trent Dilfer his way to a Super Bowl then?
Yeah, I mean, I love the story, and to be honest, everything that Sam Darnold has went through, I think it's a great line, and it warms my heart. But you know, the NFL ain't a Hollywood movie, and I can just see Dan Campbell in that changing room, effectively sitting ready, pumping these guys up, and I just. Again, you look at Sam Darnold. Obviously, he's effectively come in as a backup, and he's got the start. He's done fantastic, but again, you're just expecting him to have one or two bad games here and there. And from my point of view, if you're looking across the park and you're seeing the lines, I think this is going to be the game that. I think it's going to be a loss for the Vikings, and I think it's going to be a big loss. I might be absolutely wrong, but
I just think you get a 50% chance of being right.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
I think I will come to my prediction in a second. What I will say, no matter what happens to the Vikings this week, win or lose, their next, let me just count this because in my head not working. 1, 2, 3, 4. Their next at least 4 games, right? They should, if they play the way they've been playing, should win, right? Because they've got the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans. That's their next 4 games after this week. So worst case scenario, let's say the Vikings lose, right? They go 5-1. In 4 weeks' time, they'll be 9-1. If you're a Vikings fan after 10 games this season, if you were to be told you were going to lose JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold was coming in, and you were told you're going to be 9-1 after 10 games, they would have thought they were dreaming. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, worst case scenario, I think the Vikings will be 9-1 after 10 games. Where is this one going to go? I'm going to do it. I'm going to stick by my old thing that I have been a Dan Campbell fan for a long time. The whole last season, I went on and on about Dan Campbell. He is a phenomenal head coach. Kevin O'Connell is a very good head coach as well. He motivates his team.
Yeah.
This is why I can't pick this, but it's because both teams, and this sounds really daft because obviously this happens in every single game, but both teams could easily win this game. There's no case of this team might win it. Both teams, I think, you wouldn't be surprised either way what happened, but I'm going to stick with Dan Campbell because I'm a big Dan Campbell fan, and I think, like you said, it's the grit. The Lions, when they need to win, can win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they need to get a result, and it's a tough game. When they need to win, they can win, and they will win. I mean, they lost in a tight game to the Bucks earlier in the season, but the Bucks, are having a good season. But I'm going to go the Lions, but I'm going to go in a very tight game. This could come down to a walk-off field goal to win this game, I think, and it wouldn't surprise me if it went either way. But I'm going to go with the Lions. So,
but again, as you say, if we're sitting after the game and this is like Vikings 34-15 or something, it wouldn't surprise you either. I mean, as you say, this game could be either way. So I think we're 100% on the games we're calling. I don't think. Oh, did you go one against me?
Where did we go? I can't even remember. I need to look back. Might have been. I can't remember. We might be. It's very unusual. We're on this in the crew that we agree with. Everybody agrees. It used to be the curse. I think. Without looking back, somebody will probably be watching, can comment and tell me whether we have agreed on all the games or not. I do agree with you. I do feel as if we maybe disagreed on one, but I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, we'll go. We're agreeing on this one. The next one I shouldn't be making a prediction at all. We'll get the 3-2 Eagles at the 2-4 Giants. So, fresh from shouting at his own fans, Nick Sirianni takes his all over the shop franchise to the Meadowlands. The Giants look like they will have the neighbours back this week. He will be full participant in practice. He is in the final stages of the clear and concussion protocol. So that is massive for the Giants. Although they've been actually okay without him. I was expecting, obviously the WR1, but they still managed to beat Seattle 2 weeks ago without him. They obviously lost to the Bengals last week in a very tight but boring game. Wandy Robinson has stepped up in Malik Neighbours' absence. The Giants, I don't know. The Giants, I can't help the Giants out. I said Big Gav's a Giants fan, and he's of the opinion, and I can agree that Daniel Jones is just going to do enough this season to keep his job, which he doesn't want to happen. He wants Daniel Jones out, but the problem they've got is to get the next level of receiver, they're going to have to finish in that top 6 or 7 picks. Again, they obviously done it last year, but they took Malik Neighbours instead of taking a quarterback, which questionable decision, but Malik Neighbours is showing up. He is basically getting all their targets. The Eagles, I still can't let the Eagles out this season. I said it last week. The Eagles are an absolute dumpster fire of an organisation at the moment. Nobody knows what is going on. Nick Sirianni's shouting at his own fans. He can't. His quarterback. I mean, 2 years ago in the last season, Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate. I've not heard his name mentioned once this season.
Yeah, I'm going to say what Eagle fans are scared to say. I do not believe Jalen. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but he's not a Super Bowl quality quarterback. As you say, he's very inconsistent. I mean, when we played them this season, he showed the pick that effectively ended the game. So again, I look at experience, and you look at what Kirk Cousins done against the Bucks and effectively the Eagles. And then Jalen Hurts gets a chance to walk down the field and win the game, and he shows a pick. I think the main issue you see with Jalen Hurts is if he gets a bit of pressure, he's scatterbrained. He just throws the ball. For me, Daniel Jones isn't it. Again, from my point of view, when you watch the Hard Knocks, and I think they were looking, was it JJ McCarthy they were interested in? They were looking.
The chat was that he was the one they were looking at. That's why the Vikings moved ahead and took him, because there's a chance that the Giants might have taken him, which is why the Vikings decided to move up and take him.
Yeah, so if you're Daniel Jones and you see that, you know that they only took. I mean, they took Neighbours. He's a great player, but they were looking for a quarterback. Daniel Jones. This is going to be Daniel Jones' last season as a New York Giant. As you say, they need to either look at a veteran, or they try and effectively. If you're a New York Giants fan, you want them effectively to win. They lose every game this season, and get a decent quarterback pick. As you say, I mean, the Giants they're anemic. The Eagles against us, I was really, really disappointed with the Eagles, because I think it was our second game, and we weren't even actually playing very well, and we beat the Eagles. For me, this is I mean, it's going to be an Eagles win, I think, because the New York Giants just, I think they fall over themselves, to be honest. You can't put a winning team on Daniel Jones's back. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. And as you say, the Eagles have got better weapons, but again, you're looking at Jalen Hurts this season, and he's been very disappointing. Whether that changes, I don't know. But again, you look back to last season, and the end of last season wasn't very good either for the Eagles. So there's something not right in the organisation. As you say, when you've got Nick Sirianni shouting at fans because they're booing and asking for him to be fired. I mean, you get to the NFL and you become a head coach, you have to step above that. You're going to get criticised. Yeah. If he can't take criticism, how is he expecting his players to take criticism if he's shown that he can't take criticism? So he's not shown, and he's not shown leadership from my point of view.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was just about to speak his leadership. The Eagles are missing Jason Kelce big time in terms of leadership. I mean, obviously he's an integral part of the way they played and stuff like that, as well as a centre. But from a leadership point of view, they are seriously missing Jason Kelce in that dressing room and in that huddle. From the Giants' point of view, I mean, I shouldn't be defending any of these teams because obviously NFC East rivals, but
yes,
the Giants have just lost Andrew Thomas to IR with his Liz Frank injury, so that's a big blow for them because that was Daniel Jones' protection, Daniel Thomas on the left-hand side. He's now gone for the season. But on defence, I like the Giants on D. Sexy Dexy, like he calls himself, Dexter Lawrence.
Yes.
Brilliant. Brian Burns, we all know, even when he was at the Panthers, we know what Brian Burns can do. Bobby Okeriki's done well for them as well. The Giants on D have got things together. Do you know what I mean? So, like you mentioned, if they can get pressure on Jalen Hurts is going to be running, scrambling around the Meadowlands trying to find somebody. Jalen Hurts does have the weapons, and to be fair, he hasn't had them so far this season because Smith and Brown have both been injured. So he's not had his weapons, but if that Giants defense can get at Jalen Hurts and get that Eagles offensive line, then I think the Giants defense could help them win this game. I think we're going to disagree for the first time, Des.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Giants on this one because as much as you say Daniel Jones, he is not it. We know that, but he is serviceable enough for that Giants offense to an extent. If he can get the ball out to Malik Neighbours, Wan'Dale Robinson stepped up as well. Devin Singletary's been having a good season for me, even if he's injured. Tyrone Tracy's come in and looked very good when Devin Singletary's out. They've got the options there on the offense. If Daniel Jones can just play to a decent level,
manage the game.
He doesn't have to play out of his skin. If he can just play a decent game, cut out the mistakes, don't throw the turnovers, and find these wide receivers, then the Giants are a decent enough team. It's just the inconsistency of Daniel Jones. It's not even inconsistent. He plays worse more than he plays good. He plays bad more than he plays good, so I should say. If Daniel Jones can just play decent, then the Giants will be decent. And I think this week against the Eagles, they are at home, the Giants. So I think the Giants will take this one. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game to watch. But watch this. Malik Neighbours is going to go off and get 2 70-yard touchdowns or something like that. It's going to look amazing after I've said that. So we'll have a first disagreement, Des. But also the NFC East, where I shouldn't really be picking one anyway. Right. Next, we will talk about this team and a trade to an extent, but we'll maybe cover it a wee bit more in a while. So, the 2-4 Raiders at the 1-4 Rams. So, Devontae Adams Raiders against a very massively underperforming Rams team. The Rams are 1-4. What is going on with the Rams?
Can I just, I mean, is it bad for me to say that obviously they've just lost their defensive guru to Atlanta Falcons, Raheem Morris? I don't know, but again, I mean, the last game I think was a loss 24-19 to the Packers. I mean, I've watched a few of the Rams games. Are they? I mean, the 1-4, I don't think they're not that bad a team. They've still got a lot of weapons. From the way I look at this, if you give McVay, I think they were on a bye. So if you give McVay a bit of time to work out the offense against the team that he's going to go for, it tends to be a win. I think from my point of view with the Raiders, the biggest red flag was that they lost 32 points against the Steelers. Now, this is an anemic, so this is Arthur Smith offense, which is the Steelers, which I've had for the last 3 years. And I think statistically, in the last 3 years, I think there was 3 games that were above for the Atlanta Falcons 30 points. So to be a Raiders team that's lost 32 points to the Steelers, that's the biggest red flag for me.
Yeah.
They've got Aidan O'Connell again, which doesn't give me any confidence against Stafford. You know what I mean? So again, the quarterback difference and the experience is there. The Raiders, they've got Brock Bowers, who looks to be their main, effectively, receiver. And again, he's doing well this season. But for me, it's going to be the LA Rams for me on this. As I say, the biggest red flag is losing 32 points against. I mean, the Steelers, as I say, the Steelers, it's all about defense.
Yeah.
The offense has been terrible. we knew it was going to be terrible. We told the Steelers fans before Arthur Smith went there it was going to be terrible. And they actually scored 32 points against the Raiders. So for me, it's an early Rams. Early Rams will go 2-4.
Yeah. As I mentioned, the Rams are 1-4, right? But the games they have lost, I'll take the Cardinals out as the equation second because the Cardinals stuffed them.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions have beaten them. The Bears have beaten them. The Packers have beaten them. That's not
bad teams, yeah.
They beat the 49ers, which 49ers are a bit banged up, but yeah, still beat the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
So with the exception of the Cardinals, which is a game where Marvin Harrison absolutely broke out and destroyed them, the Rams have had a tough start to the season. So being 1-4 maybe isn't as surprising as we're expecting, but this is the Rams team that you would expect to win some of these games. Yes, they have been missing Puka and Nakua. Yes, they have had injuries, but they win if they beat us. The problem is the run of games that they've got to come up. So after this, they've got the Vikings, who we mentioned earlier on. They then get the Seahawks, which is a tough divisional game with Seahawks, depending on what Seahawks turned up. Then they've got the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Eagles and the Saints. So there's 4 games there where they can come back in it, but by that point, they're going to win this week. I'm going to agree with you again. They could potentially be 2-6 by the time the Dolphins come around. That's not recoverable for this point in the season until we get to that. So, yeah, don't know what's going on with the Rams. Seem to just be not doing much in terms of putting things up. I mean, let's see, points-wise, they've put up 20, 10, 27, 18 and 19. So they've been over 20 points once in 5 games. They put up 20 against the Lions, but
which is surprising for a Sean McVay offense.
Yes, 100%, which I was about to say. For the offense that the Rams have, that is surprising that they've only put up 21 points plus, I'll say, once this season. I think they will do it this week, though. I think they'll put the points up on the Raiders. Like you say, the Raiders now, without Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers becomes WR1. Brock Bowers, to be fair to him, he has got the most receiving yards of tight ends in the league so far. I think he's at 384 or 385 he's at. So he's doing all right for himself. But yeah, the Raiders are doing nothing.
I think also the fallout of Adams leaving, I think that's going to be felt really badly in the changing room.
Yeah. They obviously decided to get him out the changing room while they can before it starts impacting on the changing room. But yeah, I mean, the wide receiver room now is Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and DJ Turner. That's not a wide receiver room at all.
Yeah,
again, like I mentioned with the Browns earlier on, Brock Bowers becomes WR1 and tight end at the same time.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. I mean, they have, obviously, on the defense, have still got Max Crosby there, but he can't win games on his own, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm going Rams on this one as well.
Yeah.
Quite comfortably. All right, next, we have potentially one of this season's surprise packages. We've got the first team I'm about to mention are not the surprise package. The 1-5 Panthers at the 4-2 Commanders. So Commanders going well. They put up a good fight last week. The Panthers don't even know how to fight. I mean, we've said enough about the Panthers in these shows this year. There's nothing else we can say about the Panthers. They're just an absolute dumpster fire, and we're not even going to talk about that because we have nothing left to say about the Panthers. They're just bad, and nothing's going to change.
Well, you didn't want to talk about the rivals in your teams, but I do because I mean, to be honest, give the Panthers their due. I thought they played really well against us. Andy Dalton, again, he's a decent quarterback. He's going to work for you, but again they hung in there. The defense was actually decent, although we put 38 points up against them. They stuck in there. I think, like anything, when it comes to effectively experience and talent, effectively it was the fourth quarter where we really started putting up our points. And effect from the Panthers, they had given their all, and effectively the energy ran out. So. And as you say, the Washington Commanders, and again, I think you're maybe feeling it on your side, the fact that you've lost Dan Quinn. Obviously, my Super Bowl run head coach at Atlanta Falcons. Great defensive coordinator. Unfortunately, he just couldn't bring a defense to Atlanta Falcons when he got there. So he takes it everywhere else except to Atlanta. And again, the play from and the defense from Washington's been phenomenal. The offense, I'm trying to remember the quarterback for the
Jaden Daniels. How can you forget Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels, yeah. When the draft was round, I was hoping that I looked at Jaden Daniels for because obviously I was looking at the draft, and I thought he was probably, apart from Michael Penix Jr., I thought he was probably the best pro-ready quarterback, and he's shown that. Again, with Dan Quinn tends to be able to bring in good offensive coordinators and match them well with quarterbacks. Again, we had it when he was there with Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan. He is a good head coach if he gets left alone to do it. And again, as you say, I think they're 5-1. Is that right?
4-2.
4-2. And again, a lot of people had Washington being one of the first draft picks, so it's been phenomenal. From this one, it's going to be a Commanders win for me. I think the Panthers, I think they're just effectively tanking just to get a decent quarterback. Or, I mean, to be honest, Bryce Young has come in spots in some of the I think the 2 weeks ago, and he looked all right. But again, you have to ask: is Bryce Young a bust?
Yeah. I think the problem with Bryce Young is he is a good quarterback in a very bad system, in a very bad situation. I think if you took Bryce Young and put him into, let's say, the Texans, for example, if you'd flipped him and CJ Stroud round, would CJ Stroud be playing as well as he is with the Texans with this Panthers offense? Nowhere near it. Would they have been as bad? I don't know, but I think Bryce Young. I mean, he was drafted. CJ Stroud was the one who was the most NFL ready at the time, but Bryce Young seemed to have been the one that had the biggest uprate in terms of what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah,
but it sounds very daft, but it's similar to the Drake May situation. Put him in too early, throw him into the Wolves, and it's just not what Drake May stood up last week against all expectations. But the Patriots probably done the right thing sitting him for those games to let him get used to it. Whereas the Panthers dumped stuff for our organisation, threw Bryce Young in, and he's just absolutely sunk. And it's not his fault. I don't believe there's things that he could be doing better as a quarterback, 100%. But I don't think you can blame Bryce Young for the situation that the Carolina Panthers are in. Flipping over to the Commanders, Dan Quinn, massive loss to us. He took basically all the stars of both our offensive and our defensive line with them. Interesting point you make, and one that was made last week on the show, and I 100% agree with it, is Cliff Kingsbury was an absolute inspired choice for offensive coordinator.
Absolutely.
He is a quarterback's offensive coordinator. So bringing in someone like Jaden Daniels and to work with someone like Cliff Kingsbury, it was an absolute inspired bit of business by the Commanders. Commanders are going to win this week. They have put up 38, 42, 34 points in the last 3 of the last 4 games. They're going to put up an absolute barrel again this week against the Panthers and win very, very easily. So, Commanders for me as well. Right, let's move on to primetime Sunday. So we've got the baddies, the Kansas City Chiefs, who we've deemed the baddies this season. They just keep on winning, and you don't know what version of the banged up 49ers are going to turn up this week. Can the boys from Santa Clara stop Mahomes and company this week, Des?
I think they will.
Oh,
I think they will. I mean,
as a teacher would say, show me your workings.
I think if you look, last week, I think last week was the first time you've really seen this year's 49ers. It was a 36-24 win against the Seahawks. We've played the Chiefs this year. We had a chance to go up the field and win that game. I was not impressed at all by the Chiefs. It sounds terrible. They're back-to-back Super Bowl winners. But historically, you know that no team has won 3 Super Bowl wins in the trot. So history's against them. Again, like that, Kansas City Chiefs tend to have a game now and again where they'll lay an egg. The San Francisco 49ers are banged up, but I think last week showed what they can do. They've got Kittle, obviously, which is the main threat. They've lost their running back. Which I'm trying to remember his name. McCafferty.
Yeah.
So he's out, but I think this will be a 49 win against the Chiefs. Chiefs are sitting 5-0. I think after this it'll be a 5-1.
So as our resident Chief Stud says, Andy Reid doesn't lose after a bye week. Andy Reid is 21-4 in his career after bye weeks. So Studs obviously believes that that is going to continue. Yeah, the issue I've got with what you say with 49ers is the injuries. The thing is, last week, when you think I think we've always said with the 49ers, it's always been next man up with the 49ers, right? And last week was a classic example. I think at one point last week they got to running back 5 last week.
Yeah.
And they still did not look as if it was anything was missing. I mean, we had McCarthy obviously injured, then Jordan Mason stepped up, then seeing Isaac Guerrero stepping up, and then Patrick Taylor as well. The running back game just kept going, and they ran out, and there was some big runs for those running backs as well. Brandon Ayuk seemed to kind of decide it was going to show up this season last week as well. He did a couple of good catches for the Niners. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, though. That's it. That is a problem. The Chiefs are the Chiefs.
The baddies. So, I mean, at some point they're going to get through a bad spell. I mean, they have to. I mean, just to give hope to any other fan, they have to get through a bad spell. And I'm hoping that it's this game. Effectively NFC against AFC, and I'm hoping the NFC comes out on top.
I like what the 49ers can do on the defense. If this goes into a shootout, that's where it worries me. With the 49ers' point of view, I don't think the 49ers, in the past, they could run with the Chiefs and they could, but I don't think they're in a position at the moment to go into a shootout with the Chiefs and win it. So I'm going to go Chiefs. I think it'll be tight though. I think the 49ers D can slow them down a bit, but I think the Chiefs will just have too much. It is Mahomes just always seems to find ways to win, and I think that will continue this week. Right, next we have Sunday Night Football. So the 2-4 Jets at the 4-2 Steelers. As we mentioned earlier on, and we'll cover it now more. Devontae Adams is pitched up in New Jersey with his old pal Aaron Rodgers. He made a surprise appearance on the Pat McAfee show the other day. Did you see that one?
Absolutely, you couldn't miss it. It was everywhere.
It was brilliant. To be fair, it was pretty cool actually. I did quite like that.
Was.
We just kind of Aaron Rodgers is like that, and Devontae Adams appears beside him, so that was pretty cool. So Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers linked back together. They've also got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. That Jets offense is starting to take shape. The Steelers, though, all reports seem to suggest that they are putting Russell Wilson back in at QB1 this week. To me, that is a mistake.
Absolutely.
I have been banging the drum since he was at the Seahawks that Russell Wilson is done. Mm-hmm. He is not improved when he was at Denver last year. He is not improved when he's at the Steelers this week. Yes, Justin Fields may not have done a lot over the last couple of weeks, right? He may not have lit up the header. Obviously, they beat the Raiders last week, which was the Raiders. Games before that, they lost to us and they lost to the Colts. Again, not two bad games to lose. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know why, and we all can question Arthur Smith's judgment, you especially, in terms of what he's doing with an offense. Mm-hmm. But I just feel that putting up Russell Wilson back in at quarterback for the Steelers is a bad mistake. Give me your thoughts on that first before we go back and cover the Jets, Des.
I think from my point of view, you look at the Steelers. The Steelers are completely defense. Mike Tomlin is a great defensive coach. You have to look at this and say, if they're putting Russell Wilson in, is Russell Wilson good enough to put up enough points, or is the defense good enough to stop Aaron Rodgers scoring enough points that Russell Wilson can get enough points to beat him? And as you say, I don't think so. Aaron Rodgers is nothing but stubborn. But if you walk in with, I mean, you see what the two of them done at the Packers. And you give Aaron Rodgers a new toy, I think he's going to go off and win this week. And I think the defense for the Steelers are going to try and do their best. And I think they probably will do their best. And I think this is going to be this is going to be like 17-12 or something. This is going to be a low-scoring game. But again, I see the New York Jets winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, either Aaron Rodgers is going to throw as many passes at Devontae Adams as he can because he's his pal and they have that chemistry, or the Steelers' defense are going to double up on Devontae Adams, which is going to then leave Garrett Wilson open.
Yeah.
Or what we've seen in recent weeks is Alan Lazard. So, I mean, he's showed up really big for the Jets over the last few weeks. So, Devontae Adams, elite wide receiver, clear number one wide receiver for the Jets now. But having someone like him on the field now opens up spaces for your other wide receivers.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the Jets will see a massive change. They've been doing okay, but having that option now where teams are going to have to pick, do we double Garrett Wilson or do we cover Garrett Wilson, or are we going to have to cover Devontae Adams? And I think we all know the answer to that question. It's going to be Devontae Adams every day of the week. So that might then free up a bit of space for Garrett Wilson and to go and then do something. Again, looking at the Jets, the games we've lost this season, the Bills, the Vikings, and the 49ers, they did lose to the Broncos by a point. So again, it's three teams that, I mean, if the Jets' aspirations this season were obviously to win the division and go on and do well, and those games are games that really had to win to show that. But again, look at the bigger picture. Were they three games that they could have lost? Yes. Did they lose them? Yes, they did. So as much as the Jets are 2-4, they're not in a bad position because apart from the Bills, the AFC East's not very good this season. Will Devontae Adams kickstart their season?
I think he will. I think he will. As you say, when you bring in a wide receiver one like that, and again, it's not as if it's like a Amari Cooper scenario where effectively they're getting brought in, they're having to acclimatise to each other kind of thing. He's worked with Devontae Adams before at Green Bay. He knows the player. He knows what routes he's going to run. Effectively, this week, it'll be sitting down with Devontae Adams saying, this is where I want you to be, all that. And I think this will be the first, I'm making a bold prediction, this will be the first game that you don't see the Aaron Rodgers look, the wide receiver look, when you get the camera in and it's like, oh. So I think, as you say, they're going to cover Adams, and then that's going to leave Wilson and other weapons open for Aaron Rodgers.
He also then will not be screaming about Mike Williams not being on the red line as he was last week. That Mike Williams ran the wrong route, which then he says cost him the game. Another key point that you said, obviously he's worked with Devontae Adams has worked with Aaron Rodgers and he knows Aaron Rodgers. But another key point of this is that Nathaniel Hackett was his coach at Green Bay as well. So he knows the coaches. It's not that he knows his quarterback. He knows the coach's system as well.
Yeah.
This is probably as big a plug-and-play as you could have got for a team. You know, how often are you going to go back and play with a quarterback you've played with and a coach that you've played with before as well? Very rarely will happen. So I think, yes, this will kickstart the Jets season. Will they go on a run and go and do something spectacular? That still remains to be seen. But yes, the Steelers putting Russell Wilson back in is a big mistake. The Jets will win this game as a result of the Steelers not being able to compete with them, I don't think. And I think the Jets will put up 20, 30 points on the Steelers this week, and the Steelers will be pretty meek in response, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets for this one as well.
And I think you look at the hell that Devontae Adams has been in. I mean, he's been vocal on the sidelines about getting out of the Raiders and everything. You know what I mean? So again, it's a new lease of life for him. And again, him and Aaron Rodgers, they know each other. Yeah, this is going to be. I think this is going to be the coming out game for the Jets.
Yeah. Big Studs agrees with us. He thinks that if the Steelers start Russell Wilson, they lose this game. Studs, it very much looks like they are starting them by the reports that we're reading. So Justin Fields himself has even come out and said, "Oh yeah, I've not played well enough to keep the position," which I disagree with. But he's been a bit honest there and a bit open about it. So I agree, Studs. Well, either way, I think the Steelers lose this game. Even if Justin Fields does start, I still think the Steelers lose this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point, Studs. I 100% agree with that one. Okay, next we move on to a double bill of Monday Night Football to finish us off this. All right, so first up, the 4-2 Ravens at the 4-2 Bucks. This could be an absolute cracker of a game. I might even stay up and watch this one on Monday night, depending how I'm feeling. The Bucks have got a team that can just win games. The Ravens are on a 4-game winning streak, so the Ravens are hot. The Ravens' offense is averaging 454 yards per game. That is just ridiculous. And they're averaging 7 yards per snap. So they're getting a first down at least every second play. If you allow a team like the Ravens to get 7 yards on every snap, you have got no chance against them. What I read when I was doing prep for this was that, and this is why the Ravens are so dangerous, they are scoring a touchdown in 75% of their trips inside the red zone. That is ridiculous. So every 3 out of every 4 plays the Ravens are in the end zone, they are scoring a touchdown. That's you can't compete with that. No matter how good your defense is, if they keep that up, they'll outscore you in every game, and that's what's been happening so far. On the ground, they're number one. We know they're the best rushing attack in the league. Nobody's any close. But what was fascinating was that the run defense is also number 1 in the league for yards allowed per game. They're only allowing 59 yards to their opponents so far this season, which is phenomenal. On the flip side of it, the Bucks are averaging 137 yards on the ground this season, so almost more than double what the Ravens are allowing is what the Bucks are averaging. So this is going to be a key matchup. If we know what Baker can do, we know he's got Mike Evans, we know what Chris Godwin, we know what he's got there. So the weapons are there for throwing the ball, but they need to get that run game going to allow Baker Mayfield to then find his targets. That Ravens D, one of them's going to have to bend and break here. It's going to either be that the Ravens D is going to give up the yards, or the Bucks offense is going to be limited to the yards on the ground. But the big question for me is, can the Bucks run defense stop this Ravens running attack? What do you think?
Well, when we played the Bucks, we had to affect. Kirk Cousins had to pass for 509 yards because he stopped the run. So the Bucks' run defense is exceptional. I think in the Bucks game, I think Bijan Robinson was averaging 1.7 yards per carry, which, I mean, this is Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier, I think, done 3 yards per carry. So the run defense is really good. From the again, but you look at that again when you're up against Lamar Jackson. I think that most teams struggle against a mobile quarterback, and Lamar Jackson is that quarterback, and he's playing phenomenal. Again, he's on an MVP season, the way he's playing. So for me, I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's actually going to be a high scoring game, because I think the Bucks have got a great offense. Mike Evans, again, he's the main weapon. From me, I think the main difference is going to be the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go for a Ravens win here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be won by the Russian. Well, obviously Lamar Jackson, we know what he can do, we know what Baker Mayfield can do, but this game is going to be one on the ground for me, and it is going to be, can that Bucks defense step up? The Bucks defense is averaging 113 yards a game against it. So if they can limit the Ravens to 113 yards, then they'll be doing very well. My concern is that, can they do that against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? If it goes into a shootout in terms of quarterback versus quarterback, in terms of throwing the ball, then I think the Bucks
are probably favoured.
Upper hand,
Yeah.
We know what Lamar Jackson can do.
Yeah.
But if this becomes a shootout, if the defense is cancel each other out on the ground, then if this comes into a shootout, I think Baker Mayfield has got favours that would be slightly favoured in terms of the aerial attack. So, yeah, I did struggle to pick between the Lions and the Vikings. I never thought about this one too much until now. Right, let's go for it. I'm going for the Bucks. I'm going to go for it. I'm going for the Bucks.
So that's a
split.
split.
And it's going to come back and smack me in the face, but I'm going for the Bucks. Right, final game of the season. Final game of week 7. It's the 3-2 LA Chargers against the 2-4 Cardinals. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Chargers are just kind of sitting under the radar this season. The Cardinals have had a really tough start for the season. When I looked at it earlier on, I was like, Cardinals are 2-4, but then they've lost to the Bills, they've lost to the Lions, they've lost to Washington, they've lost to Green Bay. No disgrace in that. They did beat the 49ers and they beat the Rams. So they've won 2 divisional games. The 4 games they've lost, not a disgrace in losing them. They have got some winnable games coming down the stretch. So they could win this week. They've got the Dolphins, the Bears, we'll see. The Jets, Seattle after that. So there is a couple of games where they could pull some wins back into this one. They need Marvin Harrison back at his best. Kyler Murray has started to show and flashes what they can do and what the Cardinals thought they were getting with them. In terms of the Chargers, the Chargers don't almost get them. The Chargers, they've beat the Raiders, they beat the Panthers, and they beat the Broncos. 3 games that you would expect a Justin Herbert-led offense to win. But again, they've lost to the Steelers and they've lost to the Chiefs. So again, 2 wins, 2 losses that you potentially would say you would expect them to lose that. This game, I don't think, is going to be an exciting game to watch.
I think this is a hard one to pick, to be honest.
I'm struggling in terms of where to go with. I mean, the Chargers, obviously they've got a great head coach in Harbaugh, but it's like, what is their identity this season? Do you know what I mean? So, obviously they've got G.K. Dobbins at running back. Outside in receiver, they've got Joshua Palmer, they've got Quentin Johnson, they've got Lad McConkey, who are doing okay. Again, very similar to the Lions. Everybody knows who my favourite quarterback outside the Cowboys is, and that is Justin Herbert. I just think he's a phenomenal quarterback. Doesn't have a team around him at the moment, but I'm not going to bet against my man Justin Herbert, so I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I would agree. I think historically Harbaugh tends to have a struggle with his first year in most jobs. It goes and again, Justin Herbert's. Kyler Murray's a great QB as well. But again, I think the Chargers have got more weapons, as you say, J.K. Dobbins. For me, this one it's hard. I don't know a lot about the teams, but and I've not watched a lot of them. But I think the Chargers. This is going to be a Chargers win for me.
Yeah, perfect. That was a nice way to round off the game. So what a slate of games we've got in store for us this week. Some really good games in there. Some games that are going to be hard to call. Some games that are going to be really exciting to watch. That is why we love the NFL, because it is so unpredictable. Des, thank you very much for joining me tonight and talking through these games. It's been great to chat to you again.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Dan.
Boom. For everybody that's watching and listening, just a wee reminder, we've got this weekend Phoebe Schechter special crew interviews dropping Saturday morning, so make sure you check that out. Some great chat with our favourite Sky Sports analyst. She gives a great insight into her life and her career in football and what she sees coming forward for the domestic game. And then we have a Red Zone watch party at Committee Rooms number 9 on the 27th. Get your free tickets for that and get along and join the crew for some chat and some ball. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching. The review crew will be back on Monday night. Until then, the crew will see you through.